All right, so now we're in insight number 2 of Daniel chapter 7. And we did a recap of what the whole chapter is about in the previous video. Go check that video out first and then come to this video if need be. But if you know what Daniel 7 is about, you're all set. Yeah, so the second insight in Daniel chapter 7 is that after the scenery that takes place on earth with the 4 beasts, we find that there is a judgment that is set in heaven. It says in verse 9 and 10, I watched till thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame, its wheels a burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 1,000 thousands ministered to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were open. Right? Where King James says the judgment was set and the books were opened. Now, the question that came to my mind, which is kind of obvious in terms of the answer, because the answer is in the verses following, right? But there's a significance behind the question. The question that I asked was, what's going on in this judgment? What's going on in this court scene, right? What's going on in this scene right here of judgment? What's happening here? It's interesting, right? The judgment is taking place in the presence of the Ancient of Days. So he's the one who's arranging the judgment. So safe to deduce from the text that the person who is the judge in this scene is the Ancient of Days. He's the superior in this scene. So he's judging. And what takes place in this scene? Well, verse 10 tells us books are opened in this scene. Then it says in verse 11, I watched then because of the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. I watched till the beast was slain and its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. And then the Son of Man in verses 13 and 14 comes to the Ancient of Days and he's given a dominion and glory and a kingdom. That's everlasting. So there are 4 things that we can note that took place. 1, books are opened. 2, the beast was slain. 3, the rest of the beasts have their dominion taken away. And 4, the Son of Man comes to the Ancient of Days and he receives a kingdom from the Ancient of Days that lasts forever. Now, what's the first thing that stands out to us? Firstly, there's a regulation of dominion in this court scene. And we can't really minimize or reduce this point because this has to do with us. This has to do with our world, right? The flow and trajectory of power, right? Of dominion, right? Usually we look at earthly power and we're thinking, oh, that person is in power because he had, the power and ability and, the knowledge and the skill to get to where he's going. But we see that when you look a little higher, you find that the flow of power is actually being regulated by a higher power. It's not controlled by men. It's not controlled by human beings. It's not controlled by us. It's controlled by God. It's regulated by God. God overrules these things. Because how is it that in God's presence, the 4th beast is destroyed and his dominion is taken away, right? And this isn't necessarily chronological, right? This is more so things being spoken of in the prophetic perfect tense, which simply means that things being foretold are spoken of as if they've been done already, right? So the beast was slain, right? That's what took place. And when you go to the interpretation, Daniel says that his dominion was taken away. Okay, so God takes away the dominion of this 4th kingdom. Then it says, as for the rest of the beasts, their dominion was also taken away. The dominion that was committed to them, or that was in their hands, is also taken away from them. Which means that dominion then, earthly dominion, the ruling of one kingdom over another in this world, is not due to man's power, but it's due to divine regulation. God is the one who actually oversees and rules in the kingdoms of men, which is a consistent theme in the book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 2, even Daniel chapter 1, Daniel chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, right? Chapter 7. God rules in the kingdoms of men. And ultimately, he takes their dominion away and he gives it to this one figure who holds it for eternity, who has that kingdom forever, forever to rule as king, forever and ever. And we know that that individual is Jesus. That individual is Jesus Christ. We could even draw some comfort from this, from the fact that, guys, when we look at our world and the turmoil that is taking place and the flow and trajectory of power and where power is going from one person to another and one kingdom to another, right? And throughout history, from Babylon to Medo-Persia to Greece to Rome, that to the human eye, to the onlooker, it appears that these nations have the power that they have because of their own skill, their willpower, and their wisdom. That's how history portrays the succession of kingdoms. But actually, God says, no, I direct that succession according to my will. And even if this power is in power right now, this too shall pass. Because eventually the kingdom is going to be in the hands of one, the Son of Man, Jesus Christ. That should guide our view of prophecy, of politics, of our interaction with social issues and stuff. It doesn't mean that we should neglect to be active in those things and to do nothing to alleviate those who are suffering in sin, right? It doesn't mean just sit in your corner and wait for that kingdom to come, right? It means that be a heavenly citizen while you're on earth. Be a citizen of heaven while you're on earth. Which means, yeah, we need to get active. We need to do something. We need to do what our Father bids us to do in this world to alleviate human suffering.